Hi, everybody. This is Kish again. I know it's been a while, so this is my new video, my analysis of the upcoming U.S. election and what I think will happen. So, who is going to win? As you know, the two main candidates are Trump and Biden. Trump from the Republican Party, who is the current incumbent president, as well as his challenger, who is from the Democratic Party, Biden. And of course, their running mates are Mike Pence for Trump, and who is the vice president right now, and Kamala Harris for Biden, right? And we just had the last debate between the two yesterday or a couple of days ago, I guess, right now. And we'll talk about it, how the debate went and all that. So, and we are only less than 7 or 8 or whatever, 10 days to the election. So, here is in this video, I want to talk to you about what I think is going on in America. Again, it's my perspective from what little I can analyze. Not necessarily, I haven't done any major surveys. I'm not a news channel with millions of dollars of resources or anything to either spread fake news propaganda or to do any polling or stuff like that and produce whether it is a fake poll or a real poll, whatever it is, anything of that nature. It is just my impressions and what I have gathered as a person living in the US and interacting with folks around me and reading stuff off the media and stuff. And of course, the first thing I have to tell you is 99.99% of the media is all fake news, right? Everybody has an agenda. It doesn't matter which channel it is, whether it is CNN or whether it is Fox News. All that they are looking to do is trash the guy that they don't like CNN hates Trump, so all you do see 24 hours is Trump did this shit, Trump is shit, he did this bad, he did that bad. And then Fox News is kind of says it is pro-Trump, but not exactly, though, because neither the Republican Party kind of fully is on the Trump side, right? Yes, they have accepted him as their candidate for the time being, and he's got them a win, so they're happy about that. We'll see what happens in the upcoming election, but but they're not fully on board either. And don't trust everything Fox News tells you either. There's fake news everywhere, right? Anyway, coming to the actual election analysis itself, right? So of course we are in the middle of a major pandemic, so let's start from 2016 or even 2015 when Trump started talking about running for the election and running for the post of the president of America, how things were under Obama and what Hillary was promising, right? Rather than just focusing on the pandemic and the economy and things that are going on right now, I think we have to back up and start from over there. So in my opinion, Obama was one of the worst presidents, again in my opinion, I have seen in modern times in American history, right? Yes, he inherited a major crash. Of course, Bush was a very bad president before him too, but I feel Obama overtook Bush in how bad things were and how bad he was as a president. Though it was not beating Bush was really hard because Bush was really bad. But eventually Obama succeeded in beating him and being the worst president in the modern history of America, at least. I don't know the history for 200 plus years to compare with every president before, but at least in the last 50 to 60 years, I feel he's easily the worst. Right, and why do I say that? See, initially Obama came in with a big promise, right? When things were so bad under Bush, we had the unnecessary Iraq war, which killed millions of Iraqis and thousands of Americans, totally unneeded. Another regime change war for oil, for whatnot. Just Bush's hatred with Saddam Hussein due to his dad's problems and all this. And on top of it, we had a huge Wall Street bubble, the housing bubble, and finally which burst just a few months before the end of the Bush presidency, right, in the year 2008, around September of that year. So, and then when Obama, a new face in the Democratic Party, came along and he's promising all these changes and all these great things. Hold on one second. So Yes, there you go. Somebody wished me for my bumper sticker on Trump. Trump 2020. So there you go. I'm in Texas, so I guess most people here should be voting for Trump. We'll see. Though the cities, the major cities are becoming more democratic, as I see more and more people immigrating or moving into Texas from places like California, though they're leaving because they see what Democrats have done in California, but still they want to come here and vote Democratic, so that Texas becomes another California. But anyway, that's an issue for another day. Coming back to Obama and what he promised and what he delivered, right? When Obama was running for office, even I was an Obama supporter. I used to really love his speeches. It was like refreshing to see somebody talk all these great things. And as it is, we were so frustrated with the Trump presidency, with the Bush presidency and what it delivered. All these unnecessary wars, a major economic crash, people suffering, all over the place, losing their homes, losing their jobs, and going deep into debt, just in order to just survive. And after all this, we were like, okay, is Obama going to come over and bring us some, fix the America, make it less divided, and also get some stuff done and make some real reforms that he talked about, as well as cutting spending, balancing the budget, getting us out of unnecessary wars like Bush used to, and a whole bunch of such promises, fixing international relationship with multiple countries, all kinds of stuff, right, like this. But then when his presidency started, everybody was hopeful. We were all happy that he got elected over another Republican, which was McCain at that time, that we were going to see some real changes. So that is at least how the presidency started. Everybody was excited, as well as that he was the first non-white or half-white only president in the history of United States. That's a good thing. That's something to celebrate too, given the history of USA and the slavery and all that stuff that we have out here. That's part of the American history and American culture, which is awesome that it's changing, at least in the last few decades. But there's of course a long way to go. That's again a topic for another day to go into details of all that. We might just touch upon it in the analysis for this election, right? So anyway, Obama started with this great promise, but finally what was he able to deliver? So all he has done is he followed the advice of the Keynesians, and appointed just another idiots at both the Fed as well as the Treasury Secretary. I think folks from the same Wall Street gang. These banksters were the same guys, and their buddies were the ones who got into both the Fed positions as well as Treasury Secretary. And all that he has started doing was to print money and spend like crazy, right? He has doubled the national debt from around 5 trillion when he started. Bush had already doubled it from 5 trillion to 10 trillion, and Obama doubled that from 10 trillion to almost 20 trillion by the time he was out of office. And this is the largest increase by any president probably in the history of United States presidencies, right? Now so this was the crazy amount of debt that United States was left with. Well, unofficially already Obama had bankrupted America, though we hadn't declared bankruptcy, and folks like Chinese are still willing to lend us further money, which again Trump has kept on borrowing. And I guess the next Democrat is going to borrow even more than what Trump did. So this borrowing cycle and borrow and spend, go deeper into debt is not stopping. It doesn't matter which party comes to power. Only one may be worse than the other, but they're all the same as far as this is concerned. Right? So that's what Obama did. Not just that. So though he saw the mistake that Bill Clinton did in terms of pulling out of Afghanistan too soon, and what it brought about, which is Al-Qaeda and 9/11, where America had to then go into Afghanistan and fight another war for years together, right, for 2 decades now almost. So in spite of seeing the consequences of this, he repeated the same mistake in Iraq and pulled out blindly without thinking about the consequences, just because he had made an election promise to do this, which led to the creation of ISIS and them occupying the territory both of Iraq and Syria, and being a terrorist group probably worse than Al-Qaeda, though yes, they could not do as much damage to the soil of United States within the US, but inside the area that they controlled, as well as in Europe, for 4 or 5 years, all we had was a everyday bomb blast, everyday shooting, every day taking a truck and running into the crowd, all kinds of such crazy atrocities all over the globe, especially Europe and within the Middle East, Syria, Iraq region, yes, of course. But it wasn't limited to just there. It was even things happened in the US with just crazy groups or crazy individuals following their ideology and starting off becoming a lone jihadi or lone terrorist, and conducting acts of terrorism, killing people, murdering them through suicide bombing or shooting or anything like that. So it was a hell of a time under Obama, and I would blame him to a large extent. And not just that, he did not have the guts to go and fight them either, right? He was not strong enough. He did not have the will to fight these people and kill them right up front itself. So they would not have expanded this much, and they would not have been such a big menace, right? That is his foreign policy blunder. As well as on top of that, what was his foreign policy? His foreign policy is only go and bend down all around the world in front of everybody. He goes to Saudi Arabia, bends down in front of the king. He goes to Japan and bends down in front of the king over there. So he has completely tarnished the image of the United States, and whatever respect United States used to have around the world was completely finished under Obama, is my opinion. Yes, this is not how United States ought to behave with the countries around the world. We will respect everybody. We will work with everybody. It's not like we want to show superiority or something with anybody in the world, but you got to work with folks on an equal terms. You cannot already, and in every negotiation, Obama used to surrender before the negotiation began. Like for example, in the Iran deal, he sent this guy over there who would sit there for months until the deal is made. If Iran doesn't agree to something, he will say, okay, no, I'll surrender to whatever you want. And with Cuba, the worst example of this is Cuba. The Fidel Castro is like 90 years old, 95, I don't know, 99, about to die next day, and he wants to remove all the sanctions and open up everything, but he didn't get a single concession from the Cubans. Are they going to hold elections? Are they going to return to a democracy? Are they going to open up stuff? Nothing from Cuba. But from our side, we opened relations. We would have cruise ships going to Cuba. We would have business, everything with them, while there's still Fidel Castro and his brothers are hanging on to power, having changed nothing. So this was the kind of things that we had with Obama. So the people were sick and tired, especially, and then Hillary was promising to continue the same thing. And now what happened to the people of the United States, right? We discussed foreign policy. The scenario of the folks in America was that Wall Street was benefiting at the expense of Main Street. Folks were losing jobs. They had to go deeper and deeper into debts. Many people didn't have jobs for years together. The economy was horrible. And then given all these Obamacare and what stuff, which made employers had to pay up way more and more, they converted full-time workers into part-time workers. People had to take up 2-3 jobs to make ends meet. So while people were suffering, the stock market is continuing to go up. Of course, this repeated even under Trump to a large extent. And stock market continues to make new highs. Not a single Wall Street guy was prosecuted, or very few, if at all any, for the fraud and the thing that went on before the 2008 crash. Everybody made it out happily. They got their bonuses, they got their stuff. vacations and everything, and their fat paychecks, while the people on Main Street continue to suffer. Right? And then he can't be tough with China, he can't be tough with anybody. Like all countries were ripping off America, whether it is India sending in all kinds of H1B workers, IT companies invading everywhere, all over the US, any place you go, or whether it was China dumping it all kinds of shit, Mexico illegals running in freely with no restrictions. And this was what was going on. And then the country keeps going into debt and getting bankrupted. So though folks probably did not come out and talk about it in the open, or everything seemed very rosy, or if you watched the television during this Obama time, like we had the greatest recovery and the greatest economy and whatnot, was what they were trying to make it out to be, though it was officially the worst, weakest recovery ever from a recession. The Main Street was suffering horribly, while Wall Street was, folks on Wall Street and the few who invested in all kinds of stocks, whether it is tech stocks like Apple or whatever, might be making money, or in tech startups, social media startups and things. But the majority of folks out there on Main Street were only suffering and struggling. And not just that, they were sick of the establishment, politicians, whether it is from the Democratic side or Republican side, didn't matter. People were done with the establishment. They wanted real change. And that's what they expected from Obama, and all they got was shit. They got shortchanged, they got cheated by Obama's promises, most of which were not kept. And he turned out to be a disappointment as a president, though he began with great hope in the beginning. Right? And now comes the election of 2016, but Trump comes out of nowhere. Nobody expected, and people were making fun of him when he started to run all over the news media. And news media obviously is majority of the media was anti-Trump from day one. And they were all bought and paid for by Hillary and the Democrats. There are scandals around that as well, and where they rigged even the primary so that Bernie Sanders does not win and she wins, though there were only really two people in the primary, her and Bernie Sanders, and she should have beaten him easily, having been in the party for like years and years. So, but still she had folks do some rigging in the primaries, so in order to ensure that she gets coronated, right? That was really what it was, a coronation. Not even an election or a primary process. So after having done all that, every media tells you that she's going to win by a landslide, Trump has no chance, nothing. And then while on the other side, Trump is beating like 15, 16, 20 odd Republican candidates who are looking to run for presidency. And the way he debated these folks and thrashed them out of the park, like guys like Jeb Bush, right, about his brother's record, is like, with these facts and the way he spoke in these debates were like things that we had not seen from traditional politicians for decades in America. Right, it was a breath of fresh air for majority of people, though they could not come out and talk about it openly, because if you did, you would be termed racist, you would be termed white supremacist and all kinds of things by the media and other folks. So you could not come out and say that you are a Trump supporter, though you agreed with him on the things that he was standing for, which is standing up to China, India, Mexico, whoever, pouring in, dumping stuff, taking advantage of the United States, and putting America first instead of some global cooperation and global goody-goodiness that Obama used to do all around the world, surrender and bow down to everybody. Right? This is not the America that Americans want. We want a strong America with a strong economy, with a strong military that is friendly with everybody in the world and does not start war with anybody. But doesn't mean we bow down to everyone and just listen to their dictates and surrender to all these people. and go let them play with America, or let them take advantage of United States however they feel like, whether it is in trade, whether it is in arms deals, whether it is in business, whether it is in military actions and stuff like that, right? So we given that all establishment candidates were just more of the same, whether it is on the Republican side or on the Democratic side, which was even worse. The candidate that we had, which was Hillary, like, most people did not like her. They know it was, there is, like, I don't know, inherent hatred towards her among a lot of people. She had just the sight of her carried a lot of negativity that, again, I don't know if they will express openly to you, but it is very visible. And not because she's a woman or anything of that nature, but just what she has been doing in her life for last decades in politics, right? Though she was not the one with the power, it was her husband. She has manipulated every possible opportunity, every possible person, every possible position in the whole establishment to make things in her favor and to further her career. And it was like, for Indians, this is like a Sonia Gandhi of America. That is what she was, right? So people had such a dislike for her, it is just unbelievable. But all the TVs would tell you is she's going to win by a landslide. And the message that Trump is only talking is evil, and is hatred, and is racist, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no clue why he's in politics. And all this is what media told you, right? So despite all the nonsense from the media and the fake polls, finally on election day, we were all relieved that Trump became the president of the United States, beating all these traditional politicians, beating the Democrats hands down, and the most outsider Trump beating the most established, ingrained insider Hillary, to be the president of the United States. And of course, Democrats could not digest this. Even today, they cannot digest it. How is it that such a thing could have happened, right? And that's why they have been for the last years together, coming up with one new fake story or another, whether it was the Russia impeding in the election, whether it was the Ukraine collusion, all kinds of things, whether it is the accusation against Trump about whatever, his dealings with people and with women, and you name it, they have tried it. All kinds of things have been tried to bring down Trump and his presidency, including going all the way to impeachment. But luckily, thankfully for the American people, none of this has worked, or has stuck, or has gone to be more than a hindrance, to be any obstacle to the things that Trump is trying to accomplish. As far as Trump presidency itself, so my rating for the first 4 years of Trump, I would give him a 6.5 out of 10. Yes, again, he has promised a lot of things. He promised also to cut the spending, reduce the budget, but all he has done is increase it and gone more deeper into debt. And with this corona pandemic, we have gone even crazily more deeper into debt with all these bailouts and stimulus and free money to everybody that have been doled out, which unfortunately, to an extent, what can you do? Is the scenario is that bad with this pandemic? We can talk about it, but let's first focus on the first 2-3 years of the Trump presidency and how he has been different than a typical career politician, whether from the Democratic Party or from the Republican Party. So for the first time ever, we felt that somebody is standing up to the people of the world, to various different countries who used to take advantage of the United States, whether it is China dumping all kinds of cheap products, killing American jobs, right? Whether it is India sending in their millions of cheap, lowly paid H-1B workers for software companies, or whether it is Mexico and South America just with illegals pouring in with nobody stopping them, or no controls, no nothing in place, the border is open, and then they just come in and take over jobs from Americans, all kinds of jobs out here. And yes, I understand that things are bad in these countries, and I can see why they are attracted to come over to the United States, or why people want to tap into the American market, or the American economy, American jobs. We all understand that, but America cannot be a free for all. Otherwise, the best example I am I tell folks is, imagine that when the Titanic scene where the ship is sinking, there's millions or hundred thousands of people who are like even in the water, almost drowning, and then there are just a few rescue boats, right? And then those rescue boats are, say, already full. So now this is the scene of the world, wherein socialism in all these countries all around the world have some places people the boat is already sunk and people are in the ocean. Some places they are still on the boat and maybe it's about to sink but not sunk yet, right? So and this is what socialism does to different countries around the globe. In like whether it is India, Mexico, South America, is all the same. China, yes, is done better with capitalism over the last few decades, but still there is a lot of poverty in China, and a lot of immigrants want to come from China as well. So in any case, and then these lifeboats are United States or Europe, which have had capitalism in the past. Even there, everybody is turning towards socialism more and more now, and these boats are the small tiny places where people can jump in order to make a better living or in order to survive better, right? So now, but there are already people on the boat, and it can only take so many. So now the question becomes, as you saw in the movie, I don't know if you have seen it and you remember, are you going to just allow as many as the people who are in the water to jump in? And what is that going to do? That's what the Democrats want to do, which will only make the boat sink. So neither are the ones in the water going to survive, nor are the ones on the boat going to survive, right? Or you have to be Trump's job. What Trump promised is, I am going to push out people who are trying to jump into the boat so that at least the folks on the boat can survive. Yes, it looks cruel, it looks heartless, it looks with no compassion, no feeling to start with when you look at it on the surface. But when you really understand the scenario, this is the best that you can do to ensure survival of some of the people who are immigrating to United States legally, validly, and there is only so many that United States can take in. We cannot be able to take in the billions of or whatever odd billion out there, or the world's population, everybody that want to come over here, right? That's just going to sink everything. Nobody on the Titanic would have survived going that route, in our example that we were just discussing, right? And whether similarly with American business and American capitalism, yes, it's an open free market. That does not mean that anybody can take advantage of that and start dumping in products, so that killing the competition here, and using unfair trade practices in their own country, where they may subsidize, the government may keep wages low, keep the currency low for whatever reason. All this makes their product cheaper and more competitive, killing and hurting American industry. Right, so this was going on completely rampantly, not just under Obama, but for decades before him as well, from various countries. So finally, we were happy that Trump, though of course the success in it is limited. It's only been 4 years. It's not like he can fix everything, that 4 decades problem in 4 years. But he had started working towards fixing this, and I agree that the tariffs that he put in place is, yes, it hurts Americans only because the tariffs are paid by the people of the US, and plus it makes things more expensive for them as well, right? So it's a kind of a double whammy. But in spite of that, at least we are standing up to China for the first time ever. As well as when it comes to foreign policy, So Trump is about, he is, though everybody accused him of, he's going to start all kinds of war and whatnot, what he has really done is established peace like nobody before. He has taken out the terrorists and the bad doers, whenever it is required, as needed. Like for example, Al-Qaeda, ISIS. ISIS today is non-existent, or nowhere to be seen at least, and does not have the power it used to anymore to inflict damage on the people, whether in Iraq, Syria, or around the world, like it used to under Obama. And the head is already killed, or the Baghdadi, whoever the thug. Right, not just that, and so also in Afghanistan. So had it been a Democrat, they would have cut and run the minute they got into power, and they still are going to do that. Whereas Trump said from day one, no, I'm not going to cut and run. I know what's the consequences of that are. We have seen it already, multiple times, with Bill Clinton and with Obama. Right, we don't want to do the same mistake again. And he also said, I don't want to do the same mistake like Bush, start unnecessary wars, and which he has kept. So he stayed in Afghanistan. He is still negotiating for a proper, peaceful way to transition, and so that the American military can leave from there, rather than just cut and run and cause another, worse terrorist than ISIS probably to take over there, as well as with the next door neighbor Pakistan, who have nuclear weapons as well. So these are all the positives, not all, but some of the positives, as well as under economy. The economy, yes, he continued the big, massive bubble that was going on under Obama. He called it a big, fat, ugly bubble when he was a candidate. But and then he said the unemployment numbers were all fake. But as soon as he became president, he said, no, they are no longer fake. They're all accurate. And this is the greatest economy ever and all this stuff, right? Which are not really true, I agree. But at least people had started to feel that some positive changes are coming to the economy, right? I won't say that things had become all great or whatever, because for new businesses were able to start. The regulation on the businesses had reduced. And they had incentives to start business. Like for example, many manufacturing units started to come to the United States, like car manufacturing. For example, I can give you an Indian example itself, which is the Mahindra tractors, I think, opened a manufacturing unit in America itself, in Michigan, which was like first one to open in years or decades. Maybe not at decades, but a decade at least. In terms of a new car manufacturing or a tractor or whatever, land automobile manufacturing unit in the United States. So such kind of positive things started to happen. Yes, did it fix everybody's problem everywhere? No, I agree, it did not. Not just that, the prices of oil, which was like over $100 under Obama's time, yes, it started decreasing under him as well. But it really America became the number one oil producing country in the world under Trump, in a few years since him coming in, because he allowed shale oil production. And America became less and less dependent on Saudi Arabia. Of course, then things changed and they tried to crash the price of oil to bankrupt all these companies in the US and all that. So that's different, but at least he gave it a try. And he was working towards what he promised, which is make America great again. Even domestically, right? This is economic wise. Yes, there are allegations against him about the racism aspect and all that. Even there, I felt the black people and Hispanic people were doing better off in the Trump economy than they were in years before him. Right, yes, and this problem of race in America is not a new problem. It's been there for centuries now. It's not going to be solved overnight. All this police brutality is a reality. There is no question about it. It is hard to be a black man in America. Why America? Anywhere in the world, but especially America. Right, I do not condone anything, or the police can be, some people in the police can be bad, can be racist, and can take wrong actions, and that needs to be limited and controlled, no question. but rioting on the streets over that, taking law and order into your own hands and making a big mess everywhere, that also is not right. Right? So both ways is people have gone to extremes. I agree. There is, we need to do something about this. What the police, how they act and how they behave in scenarios like this. But that does not mean disarm the police totally and make them like probably like in the UK they don't carry firearms, and like police have been, I don't know, is they have become a useless, worthless force. That's kind of what it is in the UK, where they cannot control anything. We don't want to do that, but at the same time, we don't want rioting and looting and all these kind of things as well. We need law and order, and plus, right? So this is the overall analysis of how things were under Trump. It's not like every problem had been resolved or anything, but he was making strides in the right direction, which Americans felt. Of course, other people around the world may be unhappy with many things he has done. Like Mexico is unhappy with the wall. India is unhappy with the restrictions on H1B and software engineers coming in. China is unhappy with the tariffs and as well as the difficulty in dumping their products into America. Similarly, Europe is unhappy that they got to pay for keep American protection. So is Japan or South Korea and all these folks. But that America needs to act in its own interest. It cannot become goody-goody. It cannot become cozy-cozy with all these people and compromise America's own interest all the time, which is what had been happening for decades before Trump. Right? So finally, America had started to stand up to its own interest, which at times could be viewed as detrimental to other people's interest. But that is what you are expected to do as a president of the United States, to think about America, not about the rest of the world. Every other country has to think about itself and its people. America cannot do it for everyone in the world, right? So these concepts somehow had gotten lost, I guess, for whatever reason before Trump, which we started to see it return. Right? So before January of this year, or when this year started, the Democrats, to be totally honest, really did not have any issue, despite them trying to create issues all over the place all the time to beat Trump with. Right? They tried everything that they could, whether it is Russia, whether it is racism, whether it is Ukraine, you name it, they have tried everything. But none of that stuck. And Trump was extremely popular and extremely, I wouldn't say extremely, but quite a bit successful in implementing his agenda and moving things forward in the right direction, which the Americans had voted for, unlike, say, Obama or other people earlier, whom we hoped would do things, but really were not able to accomplish most of the things that they had promised to deliver. Whereas Trump kept going line by line, every item one by one that he had promised, and started delivering on those items. I wouldn't say all of them, but at least sufficient number of them. So now, come January of this year, that is 2020, election day, and then all this pandemic and this news about coronavirus, everything coming in started from, Wuhan. Probably it started a few months before January, but really January is when it started to get more and more serious, right? So, and then we are now almost less than 10 days into the election. We have all lived through what happened since. Well, yes, United States became the number one, country with the most infections. It still is, though maybe, other countries don't report their numbers that accurately, like India, China, Russia maybe even, who might have more than India, more than the United States. India may be the number one really, but it's at least in the official numbers, America is still number one, and we are about to hit another wave, which will bring in more infections and deaths. Excuse me. So, So really and obviously, because of this pandemic and with pressure from every corner, Trump had to do a 2 to 3 months entire United States lockdown, right? Which many countries, starting with Europe, then US, and then the rest of the world, including India and other places, also had to carry out. I guess there were only few countries which did not do lockdowns, and there was a lot of criticism, like for example Sweden, that cases are too high when you don't do lockdown, and a whole lot of stories all around that, which we won't go into. So really, I feel that the only issue that Democrats have to hit Trump with today is the pandemic and the economic scenario coming due to the lockdown and due to the pandemic effects of the pandemic, right? So apart from this, I don't think that Democrats have a strong case against Trump, to be totally honest. So they are banking. Not just that, Biden is not even a strong candidate, to be honest. He could not win the primary himself, and he had to get a lot of help from the DNC, who, in other words, they engineered it, or you can say rigged it little bit slightly to get him elected, wherein they had everybody else drop out, like Kamala, and there was one more other guy, I forget his name. Everyone who were like really more or less like Biden policies had dropped out, and they kept the lady who was similar to Bernie Sanders policy, which is Pocahontas. I forget her name again. That's what Trump calls her anyway. She was still in the race on Super Tuesday, and so she took away the lots of votes from Bernie Sanders, so he didn't win, and all the votes consolidated towards Biden on the other side, so he got ahead of Bernie Sanders. And from then on, it kind of the DNC helped make the case, or helped make it look like Biden is the real candidate that everybody needs to come together towards, and that's what the Democrats did, and they voted for Biden in primaries after the Super Tuesday. And plus, at that time, the pandemic had already taken root and we were in lockdowns, so really the process wasn't like a normal year of election. So that is another aspect here. So this year's election is really very weird type of an election with with the pandemic going on right now, and most folks are majority of them are voting way before election day, and lots of mail-in ballots. How this is going to be counted, are we even going to have results on November 3rd, remains all questions out there. I don't want to go into depths of all that. I'm sure you'll get news about it from various other sources. So we don't know whether election results will be declared on November 3rd. How free, fair these elections are they going to be hacked, or are they going to be, if Russia could hack people's minds using Facebook ads, what do you think they're going to be doing with mail-in ballots, right? So I don't know. These are all open questions out there. So, but anyway, coming to the analysis, I only see that the only thing Democrats really have is the impact of the pandemic, right? And they try to make it blame Trump that if they were in charge, the deaths would be lower, or they would shut down the country for the entire year. I don't know what different things that they would have done. It's really not clear. Yes, they might have mandated a mask, and they might have spoken about using mask from day one. Trump was a little casual about it from the beginning, but I don't know that these minor thing, I won't say minor, yes, lives are at stake here, but are these enough to convince the American voter to not vote for Trump and go for Biden? To be totally honest, I am not sure that that is enough, right? So my expectation is that Trump is still going to win this election, because he speaks to the what the average working class American needs to hear, and things that are impacting his job, his livelihood, and his needs, his or her needs. Or now we are in a liberal world with multiple genders, so I don't know his, her, or it, probably its needs all included. so everybody is included and nobody is left out or feels offended. So all the genders needs, right? And so thinking of all of that, so I don't see that the Democratic Party, they promise all kinds of freebies. I will give you free vaccine, free healthcare, free whatnot. Everything is going to be free, and nobody has to pay for it. We'll just magically print money out of the blue, and it's going to be like all your problems solved. That's kind of, those are their policies. And then we will shut down America and open up the borders to whole country, anybody from anywhere in the world. So without restrictions or without that many restrictions, and legalize all the illegal Americans or illegal non-Americans, aliens who are in the soil. So I don't know, means eventually, yes, these policies and complete socialism is with the direction that America is heading towards, no doubt about it. But are they going to be something that will help the Democrats win the 2020 election? To be honest, my answer to that seems like a no. But we have only a few weeks away and we will get to know shortly, right? So that is my analysis of what is going on in the election. I feel everything that the media tells you again is fake news, and these polls are fake, just like they were in 2016. And there is not really a lot of reality that comes out in these polls, because most people who vote for Trump may not talk to you or may not be open and come out and say that I am voting for Trump, right? Though they are doing it silently. So that is my feeling about this. And I feel not only is he going to win a lot of swing states, that is given, he may turn more Democratic states, maybe even in New York, in my opinion, to his side than he did in the last election. Again, I could be wrong about this, but that is just the feeling I get, because I feel that the people in New York should be really sick of what happened and how the Democrats managed this pandemic. And in the initial phases, yes, of course, Texas, California had more cases later, but then there were still way more deaths in New York than in California or Texas, right? So that's my opinion. So we'll see. I don't want to make this too long. So let me take a break here and give me your thoughts. What do you think? If you like, feel free to subscribe, as well as hit the bell icon so you get updated on further videos. Thank you, and let's all wait and see what the results are going to be like. It'll be fun. Bye now.